Today, we're going to be talking about luxury real estate, commercial, investing, and Airbnb. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Listing Agent Podcast. I am your host, Keith Hernandez. Today, I have seasoned investor. Please welcome Violet, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
All right, Violet. So before we get started, tell us, what is your New Year's goal?
Oh, for this year. Well, it's not a goal, not one per se.
Mm-hmm.
So when my fiance and I did our goals this year,
Okay.
it's not just, I want to do this. It's more like in the family spectrum, what are my goals, in the business, in the health. So I have different goals, to try to keep a balance and everything because I'm super micro focused.
Okay.
And I tend to just see my goal and just go straight to my goal. And that's what has made me successful.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I forget to look sideways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Family might lack or, keeping that balance is really tough. So now my goals are based on a broad spectrum of my lifestyle.
I love it. I love it. Can you share one goal?
Yes. Well, okay. So with my family, which is really important to me this year, spending more time with them.
Okay.
Because, we work a lot, as investors, and I'm traveling all the time because our projects are all over the place. And sometimes, we do a lot in Palm Springs also. And so I really want to take the time to spend more time with my family. My daughter's 17 and, I have her one more year at home. And so just trying to, take advantage of
I love
time.
it.
Yeah.
I love it. Seems like you really know how to balance everything.
No. No, but we're working. It's a work in progress. We're working at it all the time. This is why, I'm making a conscious decision to make it a goal, to make sure I'm, filling all those little cups that, that are important. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're going to, 2024 is all you.
Yes,
you got
yes,
this.
yes. Yeah. And in the real estate industry, we have some big goals also. And, the way I see the market, it's definitely, it's going to shift from what's happened in 2022 and 2023.
Yes.
So slowly but surely, it's going to be a shift.
Love that. And we're definitely get into that for sure.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? Tell us first what you do and, how you kind of got started.
Okay. So what we do is we rehab, basically flip luxury properties.
Okay.
And a lot of our most recent flips are in Palm Springs.
Okay.
And we've done really well in the Palm Springs market. And so we're, like I mentioned earlier, we're in the between $2 and $5 million range kind of luxury market out there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because I know I do hear a lot of talk about Palm Springs that, it's been pretty slow, takes things longer to sell. Is that true?
It is true because Palm Springs is a secondary market. And so normally, everything has slowed down. But if you're looking for a secondary home, that's slowed down even more. Mm-hmm. So, thank goodness, we follow the trends, we follow advisors, we follow, a whole bunch of people. And we realized that there was a shift coming and we sold a lot of our inventory before, the interest rates really started going up really high. So we haven't lost, thank God. We did have a house that has taken a long time to sell, which now we're in escrow for, but we're not losing.
Okay.
I have investor friends that have lost a lot. And so we count our blessings all the time.
Oh, nice. Yeah. What's the average days on the market, would you say?
Oh, when it's a regular market for us, my houses don't sit more than a month in the market. Yeah. Yeah, no, we usually break records in the neighborhoods, because of our design aesthetics. And so we've been really blessed. Yeah.
So you even got the niche on designing and style.
Yes. And especially your market, right? Palm Springs, we have that down to a T.
Love it. Love it.
And we have our teams and, so we've been really, really blessed with our projects.
What made you want to try that market? Were you advised to go out there? Do you read a lot?
I don't physically read, but I listen. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Well, the way I got started in Palm Springs is I've been doing this off and on for 20 years.
Okay.
Right? After the recession, then I took a pause, the recession in 2007, and then I got an itch to start again, right? And so, but I didn't know where to start. And I remember I talked to one of my mentors and he says, well, why don't you talk to my cousin? And he's a wholesaler in Palm Springs. And so that's exactly what I did. And he's the one that brought the deal to me.
Okay.
And we flipped our first property in Palm Springs. I think it was in 2017, I think it was. And so, and since then we've been flipping in Palm Springs.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned wholesalers. So can you explain, because we know we got a lot of people in the audience who don't know what a wholesaler is.
Definitely.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So so basically what wholesalers do is they go out and find a property, get it under contract, and resell it to you, but on paper. They don't close a deal. They basically, the way they make money is they kind of add like a fee, depending on how fat the deal is. And then I turn around and buy the paper from them and then end up closing the transaction. I buy the house basically wholesale. And and most of these houses need a lot of work, and we fix them and then we resell them after.
For a lot of people who are getting into investing for the first time, how do you obtain these wholesalers, or how do you get in contact with them?
For me, a lot of them at this point come to me.
Okay.
But at the beginning, you would have to, for example, WealthCon, right? If you go to an event like WealthCon, you find wholesalers, you find everything. So it's always networking is key. Networking is key so you can find, who can bring you your deals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Networking is everything today.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is. Yeah.
Do you do any projects out of state or?
No, I've helped my sister with her project in Texas, and we've considered starting to flip in Vegas with Michael, my fiance. And then, those are areas we might be headed to, but just recently we've thought of flipping outside the country, or not necessarily, kind of flipping and also investing.
Okay.
So I'm Salvadorian. I was born in El Salvador.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and my mom left the country to come here to have a better life for us, left us behind, then went back and brought us from El Salvador. But the reason why everybody was leaving El Salvador at that time and my mom brought us over was because of the war.
Okay.
So we were refugees from the war in El Salvador. And so, I don't know if you realize or if you know anything about what's happening in El Salvador now. There's the new president.
Okay.
Well, not new. He's been around for 4 years now, and he's hoping to get reelected. And he basically cleaned up the country. He arrested, I think, 60 to 70,000 gang members.
Oh, wow.
He made a huge prison, and they're all in there. And so I've been going the last 5 years. I think I've gone like 3 times. And I just came from El Salvador, and the country's completely cleaned up from like a lot of crime and all the stuff that was really, really impeding people from, come to visit or invest. And, there's a lot of vacation rentals by the beach. There's a lot of opportunity for investments. And even some of my investor friends, everybody's like, El Salvador. They just hosted the Miss Universe over there. There's so many things coming to El Salvador that I'm like, so it's time to invest also in our country. So that's what I'm thinking. We're definitely taking that serious.
You seem like you're really good at thinking outside the box.
Right. Actually, I always do that. I try to do that because how do you stand out? Right. Do you do what everybody does, or do you try to stay in front of the trend?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think even then, right now, I already see a lot of things happening in El Salvador. I don't think I would be in front of the trend. I'm like barely catching up. Right. But I think that would be a great country. It was like Costa Rica back in the day. Everybody started buying land and everything. And right now, you think Costa Rica is like, oh my goodness, it's such a beautiful place. Yeah.
It sounds like you have so much experience. Let's take it back a little bit. So, I mean, did you go to college?
Well, I did go to college. I didn't graduate high school.
Okay.
So what happened was when I was 15 years old, my mom took me back to El Salvador. She said, I'm retiring, I'm leaving. So she took me back with her. I came back when I was 17, about to be 18. And I tried enrolling to a regular school when I came back. And I was almost 18. They wouldn't take me. So they sent me to some kind of continuation school. But it was a charter school in downtown LA. Okay. And just, when I was about to finish, the charter school closed. And so what my counselor suggested at that time is like, okay, why go back and trying to finish high school? Just go directly to college. So that's what I ended up doing. I ended up going to Pasadena City College. But it was a short stint. After that, I was pregnant. And so I dropped out of college. and then just started on, I started to work, in a company in Downey.
Okay.
It's a technology company. It was 5 different owners. They came from the Apple days. They all used to work for Apple, and I think Steve Jobs got fired at that time, and they left also.
Okay.
And they started this company. It was called Tech at Services.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's where I started. She gave me the first opportunity.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, I went to the corporate world, and then soon after, I bought my first condo in Montebello.
Okay.
Yeah, off of Neil Armstrong by the mall.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know that's
I bought my first condo there, and then I got divorced. So then I bought a house and was selling the condo to split on the divorce, and I bought my first house in Pico Rivera, and then I can't believe it, 199. That was the price. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I bought that house, and I remember the same real estate agent after, and everything between, and this was, I think, 2000, 2001. Okay. Between 2001 and 2007, everything was just skyrocketing, right?
Right.
So I remember she was the one that said, well, why don't you refinance and pull some of that money? Or, for me, now that I think about it, I should have refinanced. Okay. But what she used to tell me to do is to sell it to like one of my family members, but still own the house.
Okay.
And that way I can pull cash out and buy another one.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. I sold it to my mother.
Okay.
And pulled the cash out and bought the next one. And that's what I kept doing. But I was so naive. I was 23 years old. Okay. I didn't realize I could refinance. But she was telling me to do this so she would get commissions all the time.
Oh, so she kind of tricked you.
Yes, she did. Because, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Right? And I was so young and so naive. Mm-hmm. But, even if it was, now that I think about it, I'm like, hey, she did all these things to make money. But by accident, she introduced me to investing. So
gotcha.
No regrets there.
So how did that transition from you going from your tech world or your corporate world to full-time investing, I'm assuming?
I did it right before 2007. I was full-time investing. But when the market came to, and she also gave me great advice, sell now. Okay. Because the market's going to crash. And I did exactly that. I sold at the highest. My little Pico Rivera house, by the time I sold it, I think I sold it for like 500 something. Oh, wow. And I pulled all my cash and bought one big jumbo property, and I was living there. And then I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? I have no more properties. So then I applied for a job, and I ended up working for Car Cash Loans in LA. It was a car title loan company. Okay. And I worked there for like, I think, almost 10 years. Oh, wow. And I became, I went up the ladder, and I became their COO. By the time, Car Cash sold, I was their COO.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that method about, you think now that you should have just refinanced, pulled the money out. Mm-hmm. Do you see that method still today very valuable or useful?
Oh, to refinance and pull money out to do other investments? Definitely.
And can you tell us how?
This is the way I look at it. I have our first house here in Whittier, and I bought it for $330 in 2010, right, when the market crashed. And then I always think about, I owe like $200 on it. And I always think about, should I just pay it off? Should I just pay it off? But then if you think about it, if I take that $200,000 and buy another house and end up flipping it, I can make a lot more money from it versus having the money sit there. Okay. And clear a mortgage of $3,500 a month, right? Mm-hmm. Why would you pay off $200,000 to clear a mortgage of $3,500? Instead, you can use that, flip another house, use that as a down payment, and then make $100,000, $200,000 and keep growing that money, right? Okay. Eventually, I will pay it off, but it doesn't make sense right now. Absolutely. So it's the same theory when you have equity. You have equity sitting there that's doing nothing for you. If you pull it and invest it in another house, then you can definitely be making, a better return than just having it sit there.
Gotcha.
And then also, if you own another house and you're renting it out, now you're building equity on 2 properties or 3 or however more properties you can buy with the equity versus just one.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Do you, with that method being into place, do you recommend people, do you do long-term rentals?
Right now it's tough.
Okay.
It just depends on the market. Right now it's tough because if you buy a house, with the interest rates being so high, the rental income is not going to pay the mortgage, especially here in Whittier, right? Unless you buy it at a discount, wholesale, you fix it, and then you build a little equity in there.
Gotcha. Do you ever keep any of your wholesale deals, or
I have kept some of my wholesale deals for a while and then sold them. So in Palm Springs, I have kept vacation rentals before.
Okay.
You know, I've purchased, rehab, flipped, and then instead of selling it, I turned around and I refinanced it and I kept it as a vacation rental. And I did that for a while until I sold it.
Nice. Yeah. So you do the hospitality business. You do Airbnb, is that correct?
Yes.
Where mainly, what areas do you do it in?
Right now, I don't have any in Palm Springs because they changed all the rules. But I recently just I put one together here in Whittier.
Okay.
And it's in Uptown Whittier. And what I did is I purchased a building in Uptown Whittier through Patty. You know, she was the one that helped me, you know, secure the building. And so bought the building. It was in such a shambles, but we got a great price for it. We ended up dumping a lot of money into it, but what I did is I themed it out. It looks just like Palm Springs. When you come in the building, everything's Palm Springs. And so in the second floor where we have an apartment that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, we ended up doing a vacation rental. And we made it really fun, all Palm Springsy.
Very cool.
Yeah, and downstairs, since it's a mixed use, downstairs in the commercial property, we're going to end up doing a spa. And it's going to be the same look, all Palm Springs, old Hollywood, you know, just make it really cute.
So you bought one piece of property and you're utilizing it as commercial space and an Airbnb space?
Correct. And it has another apartment in the back that I rent out.
Long-term or also vacation?
No, that one is long-term.
Nice.
That one is long-term. And then we also have a courtyard that we're going to be setting up events.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah.
You got it all figured out.
Well, it sounds like, right? No, those are the goals. Those are the goals. And of course, nothing comes easy. Mm-hmm. You know, there's hiccups along the ways you have to resolve, you know, and I think I'm good at, you know, social media, you know, shows all the great things, you know, that you're building, that you're doing, but it doesn't, I think a lot of us don't feel confident enough to be vulnerable and say, shoot, I messed up right here. Mm-hmm. Or I just had this happen to me. And so I tend to put some of that stuff on social media because I don't, you know, everything is the cars, the glitz, the lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I want people to actually know it's not easy.
Yeah. It
is not easy. If you're working on a Sunday getting blisters because I was sweeping, and Michael was making fun of me because he said, I never seen somebody get blisters from sweeping. So that happened. We were working on the weekend and I was cleaning and I'm like, look, I got a blister. But, you know, it's just, you know, we've done everything. Mm-hmm. Even in Palm Springs with our first flips, I ran out of money to finish the landscaping. And I took my children, Michael and I, 114 degrees. And we were shoveling rocks to finish the landscaping outside.
So you put everyone to work.
We put everybody to, I mean, for me, this is not going to fail. We're going to get it done.
Right.
Right. So that was the mentality. But, you know, and of course, you know, in the heat and everything, my kids complaining, I was tired. We were all tired, exhausted, and burned, you know, from the heat, but we made it happen. So it's not easy. And this is why I share those experiences, because if somebody comes in and tries to invest, you know, sometimes we tend to feel like we're a failure because everybody else is doing so great. Mm-hmm. But it's not that. It's that we're not sharing the hard parts of this business.
Yeah.
Right? So I love sharing the hard parts of the business also.
Okay. We're going to get back to some things, but what would you say has been one of the biggest struggles, or what was a time where you were just struggling in the midst of, you know, your business?
2020 was tough at the beginning.
Okay.
At the beginning, because when COVID happened and everything was closed, I had 3 houses in escrow, and I was going to close all those escrows in a week. So we were going to get that funding and keep pushing the bigger projects that we had going. Well, when everything shut down, all my transactions ended up canceling.
Wow.
All at the same time. And I was like, oh my goodness. And these were smaller properties. These weren't the $400, $500, $1 million that we make nowadays per deal. This was the properties that you make 40, 50,000, 30 if you're lucky, you know? Mm-hmm. And so by that happening, and then me having to hold them longer, some of them didn't make any profit, right? And so that was a hard time there. And now this year it was tough because we haven't we hadn't sold the one house we were trying to sell, and that was supposed to be cash flow for a while. So usually what happens is for investors, that rehab and flip, you always run out of cash. You're always needing more investors. You're always needing more money because especially our deals keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so cash flow is usually the hardest thing when you're an investor and doing rehabs.
Gotcha. So did you ever sell those 3 houses?
Oh, I did. I did. We sold them soon after, and then if I would have held them just a little longer, the market exploded after that. But you don't know, right?
No one has a crystal ball.
Nobody has a crystal ball. And, I sold some of them at a discount just to get them out of my inventory so I can push the other properties, and the holding costs. So, yeah, it's things that you got to do, you learn. And now I've learned to not be so emotional with things or with properties. It's like, okay, let's sell it. If we're not going to make money, it's okay. It's fine. We'll make it up on the next one. And you do.
Okay.
It's a numbers game. If you have 10 properties and you made money on 7, 8, you've made money.
Okay.
Right? So it just have to think about it like that.
Would you say sometimes you just got to accept your losses?
Yeah, sometimes you have to accept your losses. The sooner you accept the loss and move on, the sooner you'll recover.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little about the Airbnb. Do you have some tips for people who are starting out an Airbnb?
Definitely, which is the advice I'm following myself. You really have to stand out.
Okay.
When Airbnb was booming, after COVID, it boomed. You can put a inflatable bed, right, as a mattress and rent anything, right? Nowadays, you can't. There's a lot of competition out there, and you're only going to be successful if you're creative.
Okay.
If you design, if you're creative, if you really put your heart and your soul into the design, because people want an experience, right? And so if you can give somebody an experience, you'll have a successful Airbnb.
That was a great pitch.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Experience.
Yeah. No, you definitely have to, stand out from the rest. And I give this advice even to my kids. In anything you do, as long as you do a little bit more than what everybody else is doing, you will stand out in anything you do. And that's how you become successful.
Do you see your children following your footsteps?
That's a good question. My son, I've taken him to conferences and stuff like that. He's more of an introvert and he likes technology a lot.
Okay.
And so he's more kind of behind the scenes. So I'm not sure if he will. My daughter likes it a lot. My daughter, I think if out of both of them, I probably think she would. Yeah.
Okay.
And I tend, because when I was younger, my mom used to push on me her businesses. And so, and I didn't like it. And so I don't do that to them.
Gotcha.
The only thing I tell them, be the best at whatever you decide to do. Yeah.
Love it. So we talked a little about Airbnb. We talked about, your flipping. What experience do you have with commercial real estate? In terms, I know you have that mixed building use, but have you ever invested in other commercial at all?
I own a hotel in Palm Springs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have a boutique hotel. It's a 6-room, which the permitting process was insane, but now we have the permits to make it a 10. But I haven't dabbled a lot into commercial real estate.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the only 2 commercial buildings I have.
A hotel.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
A little
that sounds
boutique hotel.
Very ambitious.
Oh, well, thank you,
I love
thank you. It's been this, the whole history with the hotel has been kind of rough.
Okay.
Because, I do have private funding.
Okay.
And that's how I bought the hotel with private investors and all that stuff. But the permitting process was insane.
Wow.
2 years.
Wow.
And carrying costs, everything, 2 years. So now that we actually have the permits, now we're trying to refinance it into something more stable. And we can't because of the tightening of the financing that's happening right now. So that's kind of challenging. So I'm actually questioning, should I go on and rehab the hotel or should I just sell it and buy something else? Still undecisive. But yeah, definitely, we're in the midst of deciding what we're going to do with the hotel.
So when you're finding investors, is it something is that difficult for people to find investors, or how would you go about that process
So, I've been pretty blessed. This is why I think social media is everything, because we started posting everything that we were doing on our social media account very early on. I think we started 2018, 2019.
Okay.
And so we started posting little cheesy videos of befores and afters, and this is what we're doing, And I would get so nervous when I would be in front of the camera, and everybody goes through that, right? And so we started posting, and because of our posting and our social media and our consistency, it's really easier for us to get investors because they've seen our consistency through the years. And then also relationships with real estate agents have happened that way. Deals come that way also, right? Because they see what we do and that we're in the luxury market. And if it's a real estate agent in Palm Springs that has a really good rehab, they right away contact us through our social media. Hey, have this deal for you, So we've been really blessed. I think for us, social media is what's really helped us with the business.
And you're absolutely right. I think social media and just in general is just changing everything in terms of, putting yourself out there. It's kind of like your proof. There's your resume.
Right.
This is what I can do. This is what I've done.
Right. Yes. And then your consistency and the befores and afters, and people actually are able to see that you bring that project down the finish line over and over and over and over again. So that's basically your resume.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Okay, you seem very well at, handling stress. Do you have like a technique? Do you meditate? What's your secret?
I think because of my corporate experience and dealing with people and dealing with such a big undertaking of businesses, I think that prepared me to do it for myself.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've managed businesses that we've had 45 locations. I've managed businesses where 60 employees were under me, and so I think that's where I learned a lot of that. But and then also I've had a really good mentor. And that was my mentor was the owner of the business that I managed for him. And I remember how he handled things and the things he said and how he was really non-emotional about business. And I think that's what's helped me.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was actually just going to ask you, who was your biggest mentor?
Oh, okay. Yes. So one of my biggest mentor has been Reed Brightman.
Okay.
And he is... he was the owner of Car Cash. He sold it in 2010. And was it 2010 or 2015? 2015, I think he sold it.
Okay.
And he also has a huge portfolio of real estate. He's an attorney himself, and then he also owns a law firm. And I think where does he own the law firm? I think it's Lancaster.
Okay.
Out there. So he owns a law firm, and he does really well for himself. And so I've seen how he does business with real estate, and I've seen how he did business to managing Car Cash, and we would talk every day. And I don't even think he realized how much he was mentoring me by our conversations that we had every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you must feel blessed, kind of getting all that knowledge.
I do.
Sure.
I do. I think he's been the one that helped me to see outside the box and what you can really do. Yeah. Even though I had already been in real estate before I worked for Car Cash, I think, working with him is the next level of, oh my God, you can really do whatever you want,
Wow.
Yeah.
And the reason why I mentioned a little bit earlier is because, when you see people today purchase properties, there's just so much emotion in it. People are so scared,
right.
And
right.
I've obviously been in real estate. I've had buyers who almost bought 4 or 5 years ago. Everyone regrets it. It was a great time to buy.
Right. So
when interest rates were low.
Like the saying, right? When is the best time to buy? Now. Or yesterday,
Wait, can you say that one more time?
Yes. When is the best time to buy?
It's a little louder.
Now. Yeah, it's true. It's now, because let 3-4 years pass and you're going to be like, damn, I should have bought back then. It always happens. Even when I said, when I bought my home in Pico Rivera for $199,000 and I sold it for $500,000, well, that house is worth $800-900 now. It's like, dang it. You owe the biggest regrets, the houses you sell. Yeah.
So you obviously have experience in the market. You watch the market. You see interest rates pretty high.
Yes.
let's just talk normal people in their first time purchase. You know, you just said it's the not right time to buy.
Yes.
Why is it the right time to buy?
It is always the right time.
Even with interest rates being high. Why?
Because you date the interest, right? But you marry the purchase price, right? That's the saying. So the interest rate, you can always refinance later and bring that down. The purchase price, you can't change that. And right now we're going into a year where already the Feds have said they will reduce it 3 times. So the odds are interest rates are going down, right? And then when that happens, everybody's going to rush to buy. Now the price is not going to be, if a house was $500,000, it's not going to be $500,000 anymore. Now you're competing with everybody, and you can buy it for $100,000 or $200,000 more. So that you can't change. But if you buy it now, in a year from now or 2, when the interest rate is right for you, you can bring that payment down. Yeah.
Where do you see, with that being said, I mean, do you see our market going to get better?
Yes. I see it getting better. I don't know how fast it will get better, but it definitely will get better. Yes.
Do you do any 1031 exchanges at all?
I haven't done any because cash flow.
Cash flow?
Right. Cash flow is an issue. But I do have some big projects coming up that we probably will be doing 1031 exchanges.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And what's your direction with that? Where do you think you're headed towards? Or
I like single family luxury.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's kind of like what we do the most and our expertise. So I like doing that. I like single family, you know, just all the bells and whistles, Palm Springs, like beautiful backyard that you feel like you're in a resort kind of thing.
Do you ever go and vacation at your own rentals?
Yeah, yeah, we do. I mean, that's a saying my fiance and I have, like, we work so hard, let's enjoy it, you know? Or once they're in escrow, it'll be sold. You know, during that time, we're like, okay, we can enjoy it. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, we do.
What's your favorite? Do you travel?
I travel not as much as, I do more traveling for work.
Gotcha.
But not as much as recreational or family, which is something we want to do more.
I love that. Make it part of your 2024 goals.
Yes, yes, it is. Definitely.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Violet, you've been so informative today. You've shared so much, and this is great, useful information. I got one last question for you. If you can tell your 18-year-old self something, go back in time, what would you tell yourself?
That's always a hard question. That's always a hard question because, you know, I've been asked that before, and I've actually given it some thought. And, you know, it's, of course, everything passes. Whatever you're worried about now will pass. So I think maybe that's the only thing, you know, I would tell my 18-year-old self is, you know, whatever you're worried about now won't matter a year from now. It will pass. So don't take it so serious. It will pass. That's, I think, the one advice that I think I can give myself. But I wouldn't change anything that's happened, good or bad, because that's made me who I am, what I am. And if I change any of those, then I wouldn't be here.
That's how you grew and how you became the amazing person you are today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to share or give any tips, advice to, you know, first-time buyers, investors, you know, just people who have normal day jobs, you know? Anything you want to share? One last thing?
Well, first-time home buyers, I know buying a house for the first time is very scary. The commitment of a 30-year mortgage and knowing if you're going to be okay or not, you know, I can give advice to that. When I bought my first house, I was divorced and I was a single mom. And I remember at one point I lost my job. But I used my house instead of a liability as an asset. I rented every single bedroom of that house. And I collected rents, and that paid my mortgage, and that allowed me to keep my house. So there's things you can do. It's if you think about it that way, it wouldn't be so scary. People are. I think that's number one reason why people are scared to buy houses, because they don't know what might come in the future. But if you learn to adjust and do whatever you got to do, you will. You will. I mean, even if it's not a mortgage, even if it's a rental, you still have to find a way to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's the same way you do for a mortgage. But I really, really think more people should buy. More people should buy, because if you don't have a strategy to invest, at least you're building equity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could literally sit here and talk to you about this all day.
Right, because that's what you do, right? So you're a realtor also?
I am.
You are.
Real estate, and not a big time investor, but as well as I do have a couple multifamilies myself, and that's how I got started.
So is that your niche, multifamily?
It is.
How do you like
it? You know what? I love it. For me, it's consistent.
Okay.
Being a landlord, it has its ups and downs. I know that with California and the whole rent control, there's been some difficulties with the whole COVID era that occurred. So,
right.
But other than that,
where are your properties?
In LA. I have some in LA, locally in Whittier.
Okay.
And East LA.
Okay.
My favorite.
Okay. Is that really your favorite or no?
You know what? I'm used to the types of tenants that are there.
Okay.
So types of tenants, and on top of it, still higher rents because everyone, LA is too expensive. So it's like one of the next best spots for people to afford.
Is there rent control in East LA?
Yes, there is rent control. And, with the whole rent control, you've learned to adapt to it. I know a lot of people don't want to invest in LA because of rent control. But again, you adapt.
Right.
You adapt to all that. So
have you ever thought of converting one of those apartments into a vacation rental? If the area allows?
You know what? I've been told that so many times. And every time I get a vacancy, I always think about that. Should I try it? But I always end up just doing a long-term rental.
I have an idea. So we have to talk about that, okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually have a property here in Whittier that I'm going to be getting vacant pretty soon. And that's actually my thought. So
let's talk about it.
But again, we're going to probably have you back again soon on the podcast. Thank you for sharing so much. Again, we'll definitely get back into this for sure.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what are your goals for 2021?
My goals for you're catching me on I don't know. For sure, 2024, I'm going to be traveling more.
Okay.
Travel more, focus on my business for sure.
Okay.
I think last year was a little discouraging for a lot of realtors.
Right.
So I think for 2024, as you mentioned, the market's going to be changing again into a better with interest rates going down.
Yes.
So definitely focus more on that and get more into, flipping for sure and on the wholesaling business.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So I know we kind of connected at the WealthCon before.
Yeah.
But that's, part of my goals too.
Anything I can do to help.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on the host with us.
Yeah,
let's give a round of applause. Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for watching the Listing Agent Podcast. Tune in every week to see our new podcast come out.